Welcome back to the Hokie Hangover, boys. It is Hate Week, part two. Well, I guess technically part one because UVA will be later in the year, but time for some revenge, boys. Virginia Tech gets Vanderbilt this Saturday in Lane Stadium underneath the bright lights, certainly not the LEDs. Andrew, welcome. How are you?
Doing well, Rick. I'm doing well. Short week. Seems like I just got back from Atlanta and I'm already packing my car for Blacksburg. It's crazy times, but hey, it's at this point in the college football season, I'm all for it. Bring it on. You know, they starved me from late December, early January until Labor Day weekend. Throw it all at me now.
Yes, both of us will be in the Berg this weekend. I'm leaving Friday night. Michael, welcome. How are you?
I will not be in the Berg.
What else is new?
I will not. I'll be watching it from the comfort of my home for grand total of my cable bill. Not cable, sorry. My YouTube TV bill, I guess. Would be
Say nobody has cable anymore, Mike.
Yeah. I'm among those people that does not have cable. I'll tell you what, I rewatched the South Carolina game this time, like not at a cookout. I feel even better about the defense. I feel just about the same about the offense. So,
what changed in the rewatch?
Not a lot changed. I guess it was just the rotation at defensive line and being able to just send a million guys out there and have them all kind of have similar levels of success against an SEC offensive line was pretty encouraging.
Low tier.
I knew that
offensive line.
Well, and I knew, look, and I knew that, like, during the recap, obviously, but like rewatching it, it was kind of remarkable that Tech had that level of success up front defensively with a bunch of new guys. I mean, that was kind of shocking to me. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence of how much to take from the South Carolina game because, as I said before, and I kind of feel that way after the game, I'm still not sold that South Carolina is like a top 15 team this year. They've got plenty of their own issues, and I think Virginia Tech exposed them a little bit. It's obviously a long season, and we'll see if some of those issues iron themselves out. But I think the Gamecocks are a bit overrated in terms of their AP ranking.
Well, we shall find out. And shout out to any of the South Carolina fans who have stuck around for another Hokie Hangover episode. We know a lot of you caught the recap. There were some choice words. A lot of compliments for Virginia Tech for the South Carolina fans. We appreciate that and appreciate you listening to the show, you know, whether you agree or not. On the other side of things, though, Rick, you know, it's not just South Carolina that, you know, and the uncertainty of how good they actually are that should lead you to not want to take something, you know, a huge draw out of a one-game sample size. Think about how many different one-game sample sizes we've got week to week of certain aspects of the team looking amazing that should just never show up again or totally regress a week later, right? Now, that could have had to do with the previous defensive coordinator, the previous offensive coordinator, what have you. But, you know, consistency from game to game from any position group, with the exception of maybe Bashal Tootin being good. That was pretty consistent if they chose to give him the ball.
I mean,
but yeah, we shall see. Though I am optimistic purely because of the depth, right? It wasn't just like one guy going off.
It led to our epic "you have to feel worse" argument 2 seasons ago. What was that? Late October, early November, when Tech had that really crappy NC State, Louisville, Florida State stretch of the season. And we were trying to figure out if the team was going to make a bowl game. Alas, they did, and we went to Military Bowl and had a great time. But
it's true. And again, the season sets up just like that again this year. So we'll see where we are in, you know, a little under 2 months, but plenty between now and then. With this game right ahead of us, actually, let's make a bet. How about this? I am going to say right now that this game is the most important game of Brett Pry's tenure. The bet will be, do I say that again this season about a different game?
I was going to say, I feel like it's going to be just about every game. That's going to happen like 4 more times this year.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is just the first of several times where that's going to happen this year. This game, and then kind of regardless of result, NC State in 3 weeks, and then regardless of results, maybe Georgia Tech. Well, no, I wouldn't say regardless of result with NC State, but particularly regardless of result with this Vanderbilt game. We'll be saying it about NC State for sure. And then we'll see what happens there. And then we might say it about Georgia Tech again, and maybe some more down the line.
Here's what I'll tell you, Mike. If they win against Vanderbilt, I don't think NC State's going to have a most important game of the tenure tag on it. If they lose, it certainly will. If they lose, it certainly will.
Yeah.
Because you'll be looking to drop to 2-3, having lost every matchup that, was against legitimate competition.
Yeah.
And you're not going to win that back with Wake. It might be too far gone by that point. NC State, a loss that drops to 2-3 with NC State, I think could be nail in the coffin stuff. But losing to Vanderbilt is bringing the nail and the hammer and the coffin out if you lose. Like, that's setting it all up. A win here could change the trajectory of the season, of the optimism of the fan base, what have you.
Yeah, and it would end a streak that is becoming more and more infamous within college football. We all know that Virginia Tech hasn't won a game against a Power 4 non-conference opponent since 2017, but as we've pointed out on the show, and as Mike pointed out on X not too long ago, it gets even worse if you look at the last time Tech did this at home. You have to go all the way back to that Nebraska game where Tyrod and Dyrell Roberts and Danny Cole went bananas in the last drive. This has been a recurring issue with Virginia Tech when it comes to playing these more notable programs at home, and it's something that I specifically remember Kirk Herbstreit referencing in that 2017 game against Clemson, where Virginia Tech was 12th, Clemson was second. There was a lot of buzz around that game. There was a thought that Virginia Tech was really on the cusp of something much bigger. And Kirk mentioned that Virginia Tech was still seeking kind of a landmark win, especially under Justin Fuente and really over the last, 10, 15 years at this point. Tech hasn't had a win that they could really hang their hat on. We all thought it was the 2021 game against Carolina. That ended up not really being much of anything, considering how bad that team ended up being. Virginia Tech hasn't beaten a really good team in a while. And they've been racking up all of these wins on their way to bowl eligibility against mediocre competition or worse. And Vanderbilt might fall into that mediocre category, and we'll talk about the Commodores here in just a minute. But as far as the optics go, as far as it goes for the perception of this program outside Blacksburg, you got to start winning some of these games, man. You cannot take the loss every single time you lace them up against a program that's from a conference worth a damn.
The stats are pretty prominent among Virginia Tech fans, the ones that you mentioned about last time Virginia Tech beat, a power conference opponent at home, or I'm sorry, a power non-conference opponent at home or a power non-conference opponent at all, right? Those stats are prominent within the fan base. They are not so prominent nationally. Like, I think it would be surprising to a lot of people if you said Virginia Tech hasn't beaten a Power 4 non-con opponent at Lane Stadium since 2009. I think that would be shocking.
Mike, here's the thing, though. It's like a chicken or the egg thing, because when you can't win a big game in 16 years, the national perception just stops having any sort of focus on you in general. Like, they don't know because they don't care, and they don't care because we're not good. So, yeah. It is what it is. But, us losing national prominence and national attention is right there in correlation with the fact that we get on these big national TV games and lose every time.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Well, maybe things will change this Saturday. Vanderbilt starts and ends really with Diego Pavia. I think we all learned that last year. We were warned going into that game, boys, how dynamic, annoying, talented, clutch Diego Pavia was. And I remember my thought process going into that game and how I left after the game was over. And I just completely underestimated Pavia and what he was able to do, and never thought he was going to be the guy that could make plays in that kind of fashion. And obviously did it many more times last year, even though Vandy only went 6-6. We all know that Alabama win was kind of a landmark win for Clark Lee in the Condors. That said, Diego Pavia is no longer an unknown, and the book is out on him a little bit. There is a lot of film. We saw what Sam Seifkis was able to do regarding Lenore Sellers and kind of containing him. And I've been pretty adamant that I didn't think Sellers was all that great on Sunday. I thought he was good, but not great. And Sellers is supposed to be a borderline Heisman candidate. So we're looking at a guy like Diego Pavia who does not have the athleticism, does not have the arm strength. I'm starting to feel like Seifkis might be able to lock Pavia up in this offense because they don't have a lot coming back. We really didn't get much out of them in week one, given the opponent, but there's not a ton around Pavia that he's going to be able to rely on related as it relates to last year. They're still trying to figure things out over there. And yes, I know Jerry Kill is still over there. And we all know that Virginia Tech fans have a love-hate relationship with him, but
greatest mid coach of all time, Jerry Kill.
Yes, the fixer. But I don't know that
football version, not the off the field version, because we got one of those too. We still got one of those.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's working his magic right now. But I swear, Jerry Kill could have started a reality show like Bar Rescue, and it could have been Football Rescue, and he could have just been him bouncing around from mid program to mid program and getting them halfway decent.
Yeah,
but I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on Pavia, but I don't think he's going to have quite the game on Saturday that he did last year.
I don't want to do a whole podcast on Jerry Kill, but just real fast, like, I don't mean any sort of disrespect. He's a good football coach, but his head coaching record speaks for itself.
I think Jerry Kill's awesome. The impact he made in 2019 was dramatic.
Yeah, but you would think he was a college football Hall of Famer with the way Virginia Tech fans talk about him. That's why I just call him the greatest mid coach of all time, just kind of tongue in cheek. Pavia's best work is outside the pocket.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's almost like the film doesn't matter. The film is keep him in the pocket, right? You watch the film, you're like, all right, keep him in the pocket. His arm strength is mediocre. If it was better than that, he'd be playing on Sundays by now. But instead, he's doing this because his next job is going to be in insurance. So his best stuff is outside the pocket, and he's a good quarterback. He's a very good college quarterback. He's an improviser, gets outside the pocket, makes things happen. We saw it last year. He's been doing this for a while. He was doing this before he got to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. They still have Cedric Alexander in the backfield. Eli Stower's a tight end. I think a lot of people thought he was going to turn pro. He didn't. So that's like the one guy I think Virginia Tech obviously is going to have to keep an eye on in the passing game. Everybody else is kind of a bit unproven at receiver. It's a mixed bag at receiver. It's a mixed bag on the offensive line in terms of the guys you know versus the guys you don't. And like you said, Ricky, I mean, they won by 1 million last week. They were favored by like 40 points, so it's hard to take too much out of that matchup.
Yeah, for me, I just view Pavia as like a gamer, right? And I think his almost like a lore is like better than what he actually shows on tape. I think he's a true like leader of a football team and a competitor, the kind of guy that you assume is just like chewing glass, preparing for the game. And there's something to that. And I think that lends to Vanderbilt's success. But like, he's dynamic. You have to bring him down, and he makes stuff happen almost in a way that like kind of like in the NFL, how Taylor Heineke makes stuff happen, even though, you know, clearly by all like combine measures, he wouldn't be a quarterback that belongs in the NFL. He shows up on game day and, you know, has made himself a career out of it. Pavia kind of gives me that same like mental edge. And I think that's what scares me the most about him is this has been a team under Brent Pry that has not shown that mental edge that, like, walk into the building, we can compete with anyone and we can come away with a victory. And Pavia, whether it be at New Mexico State, whether it be at times last year at Vanderbilt, well, yeah, they went 6-6, but pretty stellar competition that they're playing in the SEC.
Almost beat Texas too.
Yeah, almost beat Texas. Had Missouri on the ropes. Now they dropped the game to Georgia State shortly thereafter, beating Texas. They're obviously not unbeatable by any measure of the imagination, but they show up to play, and I do not think they're going to be walking into this one lightly. And it's going to be a game that matters big time for Virginia Tech, and everyone knows that. Everyone in that locker room knows that. They call a players-only meeting. That speaks right to the fact that the guys in the room know that, it's just a random matchup with Vanderbilt week 2, but it's a big one. And, I hope they can rise to the occasion.
Yeah, there are really quick. There are 2 Virginia Tech transfers on this Vanderbilt offense. Are you guys able to name either one of them?
Gunnar Givens.
That's one. He played 30 snaps last week. Wide receiver.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was not
sorry.
He was not credited with the snap last week, but Gunnar Givens looks like he's kind of the 6th or 7th offensive lineman. He had 30 snaps last week, boys.
Well, in a 40-point blowout of Charleston Southern, you getting snaps doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see him this week.
Was Fitzgerald?
That's true. That's true. I just find it interesting that he's like in the 2 deep firmly at Vanderbilt, but
was Fitzgerald hurt, or is he not in like the 5 deep? Like, what's going on?
Hard to tell. So I did find a depth chart online when I was trying to preview for this game, so I don't know how reliable this is. He is not in the 2 deep at either of or any of the 3 wide receiver positions.
Yeah, because if he's healthy and he's not getting snaps against Charleston Southern, man.
Yeah. I think the player I really want to see the most on Saturday, and it's someone that we didn't see much of at all. He played 1 snap on Sunday against South Carolina. Caleb Spencer. Like, dude was like in a witness protection program last weekend. And I'm blown away by that because there were points last year where Spencer looked like Virginia Tech's best defender against the run. And as much as Pavia is going to get out of the pocket, as much as he's going to stretch these linebackers and these defensive linemen with his legs, you would think that you would want an athlete like Caleb Spencer on the field. So he got brought up at the press conference this week, and Brent Prime mentioned that we may be seeing a little bit more of him. I don't really know what kind of position you're going to put him in because it seems like Woodson and Keller are still entrenched at linebacker. They've got IBM at nickel. So I don't really know where he's going to be able to play, but I'm really hoping to see some Caleb Spencer this week. I think he can be a difference maker kind of in that slot edge area of the defense.
I think it's possible. I mean, with the way that Seifkis was rotating guys last week, I don't think it's unreasonable that he could change things up a little bit. I mean, I think Vanderbilt's obviously going to be studying the South Carolina film quite a bit. I think throwing Caleb Spencer in as a little bit of a wrinkle. I mean, it won't come as a surprise to Vanderbilt because Caleb Spencer played a lot of snaps last year, and I think you're going off of that film some too, even though it's a new scheme. Just get an idea of the players and what their tendencies are. But yeah, I think that's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know. I think it really depends on what kind of packages Virginia Tech's running out there defensively.
And we saw a little bit of everything on Sunday. We saw,
if it's going to be, if it's going to be heavy, like defensive front where we're having like 4 or 5 guys by the line of scrimmage, then how much of that, are we putting Spencer on the edge? What's the plan there? I could certainly see him playing more snaps for sure. I mean, I think Vanderbilt's strengths outside of Pavia's ability to improvise, at least the known strengths of this team, are a tight end and Alexander running back. So I could see a scenario where you're almost trying to make Pavia beat you from the pocket. I think that's got to be the plan on Saturday, and see if he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, there's some similarities to the way that you were going to play against Sellers, right? I mean, he's a guy that can make you miss. He can get out of the pocket. He can create plays on his own. So, to the extent that you can contain him, he's going to be greatly to your benefit. Like, you got to tackle him. You got to be able to bring him down. But if last week was prologue and Virginia Tech is actually like this deep at defensive tackle and is going to be able to create consistent pressure on Diego Pavia throughout the game, that translates from one week to another. Yeah, that's probably Virginia Tech's best bet, right? Like, obviously, offensively, you're going to have to come out and hit him in the mouth. Like, the performance that you put out there last week isn't going to win you anything. But for me, it comes down to this defensive front. Can you get up there? Can you apply pressure? Can you make Pavia's life miserable? Because though he might not be like all that effective of a, big play, big throw quarterback, he also doesn't make a lot of mistakes. If you can force him to make mistakes and put the ball in your court, that's going to be the game changer. Not many teams have been able to do that against Pavia, though, so it'll be interesting. But, obviously you're facing SEC defensive fronts week in and week out.
For sure. And as far as what Vandy's SEC defensive front is going to see on Saturday, this is a really important game for this offensive line. After how wildly inconsistent they were on Sunday, it seemed like they were very hit or miss, and it was all five guys. We talked about on the recap that Pro Football Focus didn't think very highly of any of their performances. There was a couple performances from Vandy in their week one game that I thought were certainly worthy of note. Corday Sidnor, who's an edge player, had 4 total hurries last week. Didn't register a sack, but they did register 3 sacks as a team. He ended up with a pass rush grade of 84.9. And then Miles Capers had a sack and a hurry and registered at 90.7. This is going to be a tough test for this offense to see if they're able to protect Kyron Drones, if he's able to stay in the pocket, make some throws, but also is he able to create and improvise much like Pavia can on the other end. This is where we all think that Kyron can be his best, given his athleticism, his ability to get away from rushers. We didn't see a ton of that on Sunday. It seemed like South Carolina had him locked up pretty well. Is he able to make a difference in this one? And can he improve on that? And it's going to rely on the guys up front for him to be able to make some strides.
Yeah, can the offensive line play better is pretty important to this whole thing. Like,
it affects
everybody. It affects everything. And like we touched on it on the recap, Drone's got a lot of heat, and I think justifiably so. But like the offensive line, in my opinion, didn't get enough heat for how they played. We brought it up. I mean, Ricky, you brought up with the Pro Football Focus grades on the recap and kind of put the focus there on the offensive line, which I think was really important because not a lot of people were talking about it post game about how poorly the offensive line played, especially in pass protection at times during that game. So it really put the focus on that. I think it needs to obviously be better. The offense as a whole, I think, is going to be really all season. It's going to be a story of, okay, how's the offensive line look? How comfortable does Drones look back there? And then how is Virginia Tech's rushing attack? Like, how is that coming along as they try to replace Bashal Tutin? And those are kind of the questions, at least early in the season, I think we'll be watching as everybody kind of gets their feet under them.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Terrigan Stewart can play on the note of the running game, and and if he is playing, what role does he take? Obviously, it seemed more over reliant on Hawkins than you would expect against South Carolina. I still believe that it's probably going to be a change of pace back kind of committee type approach, but we can't know for sure what to expect until Stewart is on the field and healthy, not only what to expect in terms of the distribution of the carries and usage, but what that alternative back brings to the table, from a skill set perspective, and how do those skills, from the MAC translate into ACC Power 4 football, in this case against Vanderbilt, non-conference matchup, either way. So that's a whole kind of dynamic to the offense that you don't walk away from the South Carolina game really having any idea about. For me, when it comes to drones and the offensive line, here's kind of where I'm at, right? Number one, with the offensive line. Was that just against South Carolina's defense? And, they have an NFL pass rusher up there, and I'm sure some other great talents as well. They gave a new line trouble, or is this going to be like a reoccurring theme that we're going to have to talk about every single week? And if it don't look good out there against Vanderbilt, you can start to believe that it's going to be a recurring theme that we're going to have to talk about every week. To that extent, what does that mean for the offense? Because Kyron Jones is a playmaker. He doesn't do well under pressure. The stats have buried that out consistently. I think it was worse against South Carolina because of the talent that they had on the other side. They were able to bottle him up to the point where he couldn't really make anything happen, even when the play was broken in a way that he, normally does against like Boston College or something like that. But, is it going to come down to him trying to make things happen in a chaotic offense because he has no protection? Is that going to be the story of the season? Because despite what happened on Sunday, I'm not inclined just yet to believe that Kyron Jones has somehow regressed from last season to this season, or even really from 2 years ago to now. But without protection, that might be the reality that bears itself out. So if you're thinking more big picture of how the season's going to look, you got to watch the offensive line. You really watch both ends of the trenches, right? On defense, is this real? Are they going to do it again? And on offense, you just hope it's the opposite, right? Oh, it was just a bad game. They're going to come into form because, all those guys grading out like far below average on Pro Football Focus, and you don't need to have a Pro Football Focus subscription to understand that if you just watch the game on Sunday, right? So what's it going to be? Is this going to be the thorn in the sign all season? We'll find out.
Yeah, remember what Amari Barno did against Carolina in 21, and then remember what he did the rest of the year after that, and the defensive line played really well on Saturday. It was obviously a more collective effort against South Carolina, but just kind of think of it in that similar vein. We've been here before, right? Like, is this going to be consistent week to week? Both from the defensive line being good and the offensive line being what they were, which was pretty poor. Is that going to be consistent throughout the year? Because if that's the case, Drones isn't going to make it through the season, guys. Like, he's going to get hurt again if the offensive line plays like he did on Saturday. Like, he will get hurt again, which nobody wants. So, and I agree, Andrew. Like, I don't think after one game we can make these wide sweeping assumptions about Drones, because a lot of the throws that he missed and the ones that at least I think he should be criticized for are throws he was making even when he was hurt last year. So it was almost like, was it just a bad game and you flush it? Did you all of a sudden forget how to make a throw to the flat? Like, what are we doing? Because I rewatching it today, it was kind of bad, and maybe, but I was rewatching it today, it was just baffling.
Well, and you have to hope too that Matt Moore's group can show some progress on a week-to-week basis. The guy's a well-regarded coach. He's put guys in the league. He's had guys be recognized as all-conference players. I'm not expecting this to be an overnight success on the offensive line. I think we all understand that. But at a certain point, there needs to be some progress on a week-to-week basis. And maybe Virginia Tech's offensive line can be a little bit better this week. Maybe they can run the ball a little bit better. Maybe they can hold up against the blitz a little bit better. And, progress isn't linear, right? They're going to have some ups and downs, and that's fine. But there has to be some signs that this is trending in the right direction. So we've got a bit of a baseline after week one against the Gamecocks. Can we see some growth out of that unit? Can they play a little bit more cohesively and keep Kyron clean a little bit more than they did in week 1.
But let me tell you, Rick, if we're not seeing immediate improvement from Sunday's performance, there's not going to be time given for this Matt Moore operation to get itself together, man. Like,
Yeah.
you really gotta hope it was some combination of a bad game and a good defensive line, good defense, 13th in the country, what have you, and all those factors combined into what should be at least this offensive line. I would say it better be the worst game of the season or we're in trouble. If there is a worst game, you got to hope it's no time soon, right? Maybe at the end of the year against Miami or Florida State or something. But between now and November, if this offensive line is putting up worse games than that one, the cries that we hear are just going to be louder and louder. Again, I don't necessarily think that is the baseline. I just really, really got to hope for the sake of this football program and for this team that it's not. Because, we've seen bad O-lines cripple teams with great skill position players in the past. Virginia Tech skill position players, in all likelihood, it's not like we're 2022 Boston College when you have like Zay Flowers and
Right.
they couldn't score because they had no protection for the quarterback. It's that stuff can really cripple you. You got to hope it's just a one-time performance.
And you have to hope too, like this is year 4. So you're hoping that some of these guys that you selected are actually going to turn out to be dudes up front.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're in a year 1 situation where you're inheriting a lot of it and you're it's patching it up through the portal. Like I watched that Carolina TCU game the other night, which obviously got out of hand for Carolina. There were the turnover, like the scoop and score, and just some game flow stuff that just got away from him there, where it was yeah, it's pretty clear that they did the best they could in the portal, but they might be some ass in the trenches. It's well, Virginia Tech can't, you're in year 4. You can't
There's
use
not
that
much
as an excuse
for that.
Right. There's not for Belichick, this is probably the worst team he's ever coached. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
And year 1, in most cases, it's the worst roster you'll ever have, in a first year coaching situation in college football. Tech doesn't have that. And that was just an example. Tech doesn't have that luxury right now in year 4 of Pry. Some of these guys, a lot of these guys are yours. All of these guys are yours. You brought them in either through the portal or through recruiting. They have to pan out. And if they're not, you're probably going to be out of a job.
Yeah, hopefully we're not having those conversations.
Yeah, it'll be uplifting, but yeah.
Monday night, I think that would be a real disappointment. Look, I have a feeling how this game is going to turn out, and we'll get to our picks here in a minute. But it would be really good for the fan base if we got a vibe change on Saturday.
Yeah,
Tech fans have been through quite a lot. They just got done watching the prodigal son beat up on them on a neutral site field in a fashion that is reminiscent of what Frank did during his heyday. Pry's not been able to get Virginia Tech where he wants them to be, where the fans want the Hokies to be. There's all sorts of criticisms about the athletic department and things that they're doing off the field and ways that they continue to fall behind. The apparel deal is coming back up now that you have Tennessee, Penn State, schools signing these massive apparel deals with Nike and Adidas that are going to bring a bunch more money into the program, and apparently they're going to offer NIL opportunities to players. Virginia Tech's not able to access any of that right now, and it all starts with wins and losses, and you can't pitch yourself as an attractive program for these kinds of opportunities when you're not beating your peers. And Virginia Tech has been a middling program for far too long. And if they want to get out of this mess, it's got to start somewhere. And there's a chance it could start on Saturday. And, we'll see. But it will go a long way to getting folks not quite as doom and gloom.
Yeah, and from the opposite side, right? And I made this point when talking on Inside the Tunnel too, but I think it's important. Virginia Tech's fan base is disproportionately loyal to the program
Another
than
sellout.
the results have come in terms of wins and losses over the course of the last decade plus. A lot of that is pride in the university, the culture that's been created around the program in terms of the fans, and grasping onto like history, like not so ancient history, but getting older and older, that Virginia Tech is a big time football program that can compete with anyone. And I feel like this non-conference Power 5 losing streak is kind of a microcosm of what we've all been feeling for the last, again, decade plus, that anytime you're put on any sort of national stage, any big opportunity to face a team out of the conference that's worth a damn, and they can't make it happen. So to lose an overall 4-game set between Rutgers and Vanderbilt, two schools who are known for being bottom dwellers in these other Power 5 or in these other Power 4 now conferences, to the point where you might think that they were scheduled with breaking the streak in mind. And maybe not, because these things are done so far in advance. But if at the time you were thinking about, okay, we really need to break this non-conference power school losing streak, who should we schedule? Oh, just do 4 games with Rutgers and Vanderbilt. There's no way the streak will survive that. Well, if we lose this game, we went 0-4. And, it's hard to take yourself seriously when you can't beat these teams that are literally like historical bottom dwellers. And yes, they've been a little bit better, I know, but still, you had 4 shots. So you got to win this, because I think to leave that monkey on your back for another season is going to do some sort of like psychological damage to the fan base, where, again, what we've always talked about, fearing people starting to peel off, people starting to lose interest, just not care that much anymore. Losing to Vanderbilt twice in 2 years and Rutgers twice in 2 years will do that to you. So it's a big one.
The attendance numbers are going to look different later in the year at home games, right? Similar to the end of Fuente, where it was like, oh my God, like, there's nobody coming to this, to the point where, like, fans up at the top of the West stands, Fuente can hear them calling for his job, like that's kind of what you face potentially in the worst case scenario. Now,
it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. And Andrew, like you mentioned, like Vanderbilt and Rutgers, even at their best, like, yeah, they've improved, but even at their best, they've been kind of what Virginia Tech's been for the last decade. They've been a 6 or 7 win program at their best. So it's like, it's just another mark where it's like, all right, well, you're not beating a team that everybody thought was bad, but you're not beating a team that everybody thought's mediocre either. So it's like not any better. It's like, oh, they were a little bit better, but I mean, Vanderbilt won 7 games last year. Like, this isn't like an earth shot. It was a great year for them.
Yeah.
But this is a team that, coming in Saturday, that you should feel good about going up against and feeling like you have a chance to win this football game. This isn't something where you should be going in thinking that you don't have a chance to win.
I want to highlight this comment here from Will Secor asking, is it just the regular season, or does VT not have a Power 4 or 5 bowl win in that time either? Well, the last time Virginia Tech won a bowl game against a Power 4 or Power 5 opponent was 2016 against Arkansas.
Arkansas. We lost Kentucky. That's right. Yeah, Arkansas.
Yes.
Jesus God.
Yeah. So Virginia Tech in 2017 played Oklahoma State and lost. Military Bowl against Cincinnati before they were a Power 4 or 5 team, lost. 2019 Belk Bowl, lost. And then we all know the 2021 Pinstripe Bowl got absolutely flattened. So as Michael takes a phone call, it's crazy that a lot of fans, Andrew, outside of the Virginia Tech ecosphere, do not realize the plight that has affected this fan base for as long as it has when it comes to competing with reasonable competition.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. It has been a long time, and again, this has been a topic of conversation for so long. I mean, again, like we've been doing this podcast. This is what now, like 6 seasons of this podcast, 7th season of the
I think we're
podcast.
on season 7.
Yeah, the 7th season we've covered on this podcast. They haven't won a game in that time against the non-conference power opponent. It's been a long time. Lives have changed. If you were a senior, the last time that Virginia Tech won a home game against a non-conference power school, you're 38 years old now. How about that?
Yeah.
Time flies. You're not 22
Yep.
anymore. It's again, I can spin it in however many ways possible. This needs to end. And this game is really important.
It is, and it would have been great if it could have ended against South Carolina, but alas, that was not the case. Andrew, any other bits of info you want to get in on the Commodores? Before we get into these picks, and while Michael handles whatever it is he has to handle.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's going to come down to a matter of preparation, I suppose. I mean, like you mentioned, they don't bring back a lot of offensive firepower outside of the tight end, but I mean that was the situation for them last year. Just like any other transfer team, you don't really know what they have at those weapons or how they're going to mesh together, but they're as formidable as the guys that Virginia Tech has lining across, at least from a random transfer portal player resume perspective. And outside of that, on the defensive side of the ball, they do bring a bit back. Offensive line is going to be a lot of new for them. So, you hope that that's an opportunity for Virginia Tech to take advantage. But we shall see. We shall see. It's, the game should be, from what I can tell, this should be a winnable game for Virginia Tech. Vegas agrees. Made Virginia Tech the favorite. Now the betting is going against Virginia Tech since then. They're not. I think they went from 3 to 1.5 within like hours of the release. That shows what the public is looking at. Now, granted, Virginia Tech just lost a game on national television standalone. Vanderbilt's got a lot of hype just from the SEC and the documentary and Pavia and all that stuff. So that could be just basic bettors or what have you. But either way, Virginia Tech remains the favorite in Vegas. And everyone knows how important this game is. It's just going to come down to execution. I have not seen Virginia Tech coaching staff execute in a moment like this before where you said they really, really needed to win it. And that narrative can flip, and the narrative of the entire season can flip. And think about the possibility of, you win this, and then you can go 3-1, potentially going to 4-1. If you can beat NC State, Wake Forest looks like they should be very beatable.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the narrative around your season is completely flipped. And yeah, you're going to have a tough stretch at the end, but you could have some cushion there. But this is just one of those things that the fan base can hold against pride. And even, again, in a loss that in moments impressed you against South Carolina and maybe was surprisingly better in certain areas than you might have otherwise expected, the constant shooting yourself in the foot led a lot of detractors to just say, same old Pry.
Yep.
Same old Pry Virginia Tech football. Shooting yourself in the foot. And losing these big games is a bigger picture metaphor of shooting yourself in the foot. And that's why this one matters so much. You just got to go out and take it.
Yeah, I mean, there are Vanderbilt fans that are already like gaming out how they can make the playoff. Like there's plenty of hype in Nashville. It may be a little bit misguided, but we'll see. Mike's back. Let's go ahead and get into these picks. Mike, unless you have any other items you want to get off your chest.
No, just a really important game. So
Sure is.
It's a must win as must win can get for direction of the program, I think, this year. So it's a big one.
I feel like I have generalized anxiety toward this game, and I feel like other people, who would be prone to listen to this podcast are probably feeling the same way. And after listening to this podcast and hearing us find 1,000 ways to say you just gotta freaking win this one, come on. I'm sorry if we're not helping with the unease in your stomach right now. But we're all in this together, I suppose.
Yeah, and we certainly don't care what it looks like, right? Just win, baby. Like
any win.
I'll take whatever it looks like at this point. I couldn't care less. Let's go ahead and get into these picks and wrap this up. Friday night, James Madison going to Louisville. Louisville's a 12.5-point favorite at home. Izzy's on JMU. I'm taking Louisville to cover here.
Cards
all the way.
Works for me. Next up, Saturday. We'll start with this noon kickoff here. This is a really intriguing game. Illinois is 11th in the country, which is pretty crazy. They are 2.5-point road favorites. We have a home dog here in Durham. I'm going with Duke. I go ahead and give me Mensa and give me Manny Diaz to win this game at home.
Mensa, the multi-million-dollar man. I have been inclined to not doubt Duke throughout my tenure on this podcast, and that has worked out for me generally. Why quit on it now? Give me the Devils.
I like Duke too, but they didn't run the ball well against Elon. So more than anything, I like the under 49.5.
Clean sweep for the Blue Devils here on the pod. We're skipping these FCS games, and there are a few, but on the CW, everyone's favorite, Baylor going to Dallas at number 17 SMU. Ponies are 2.5-point favorites. I'll take the Ponies.
Also taking the Ponies. Did not like what I saw out of Baylor's defense against Auburn. That was a rough watch.
Yeah, speaking of money, SMU's got a lot of it, and they got a talented roster. Baylor just was totally unimpressive. Give me Southern Methodist. Sorry, this is a boring pick show so far.
Weren't some people like thinking that Sawyer Robinson could be a dark horse Heisman?
He played well. I mean, he threw for like 400 yards, but I mean, you just need your defense to get like literally a stop at some point with your head coach, who is a former SEC defensive coordinator. You've got to figure that out.
Yeah. Intriguing game here in Raleigh, Virginia at NC State. Virginia fans are feeling high and mighty right now. They're 2.5-point road dogs. Going to stick with my belief that you trust the head coach in this scenario. I'll take Dave Dorn. Give me the Wolfpack.
Virginia.
Yep, I'm with Mike on this one. Give me the Who's. They looked good.
All right, Mike and Andrew on the Who's. Izzy and myself, NC State. Maybe, I don't know if it's the oddest matchup of the week. Central Michigan at Pitt. Pitt's a 21.5-point favorite. I don't know why the hell this one got scheduled.
Pitt by a lot.
Yeah, I'll take Pitt. Sure, why not?
Did you see Central Michigan's defense against San Jose State, gentlemen? Come on. Give me the Chippewas.
Okay.
On the matter of Antonio Brown.
That's nice of you.
The fighting Khalil Pimpletons. ESPN Plus, ACC Extra, Sicko game of the week. UConn, Syracuse, Orange are 6.5-point favorite at home. Syracuse will rebound in this one. Go ahead and give me the Orange.
I think they win close. UConn covers. Give me the Con plus 6.5.
The Con.
I will take Syracuse in this one. I think that they're better than they showed against Tennessee, and I don't know what quite to expect out of UConn. So give me the Orange.
I'm interested to see how Angeli does in this offense for the year, but Mike's all on his own, picking the Huskies. Troy going to Clemson. Mike, on the BC podcast, you guys do the You Died Award.
Yes.
Give me
congratulations to North Carolina, by the way.
Yeah, give me Troy to be the You Died Award this week. Clemson, War Machine. Give me the Tigers.
Bounce back for Clemson.
Yeah, and
It's a 33.5-point spread, by the way, but I'm still taking Clemson.
Not enough.
and when you are a when you are a Clemson that is hanging on to a spot in the top 10 after losing week 1, you're going to take no prisoners in this game. They're going to run it up as much as they can. Give me the Tigers.
Boys are on Clemson. Izzy's taking Troy. Weird matchup here. I don't know why this game's being played in Charlotte. Heels at Charlotte. Belichick's a 13.5-point road favorite. I can't imagine that Carolina's that bad that they would lose against the points here. I'll take Carolina on the road, minus 13.5.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this. TCU was clearly the better team on Monday night, like clearly better. They won 9 games last year. They're returning a bunch of guys, and they, definitely could be competitive to try to win a wide open Big 12.
Yeah.
But the game did get away from Carolina. Like we had 2 defensive scores. You know what I mean? Like it should have been probably something like a 17-point win for TCU that turned into much more than that from a couple defensive scores. All that to say, Carolina is probably not quite as bad as they showed against TCU. I think they win this game against Charlotte.
You think they cover?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Andrew.
Little subplot, former UNC quarterback Connor Harrell under center for the Niners. I have found myself in the corner of the internet where a few and proud amount of UNC Charlotte fans are out here ranting about the direction of their football program. I think they'll be impressed by how the boys show up, against a Bill Belichick team that's probably confused as all hell right now as to what they're dealing with in practice on a short week with Bill. But I'm purely homer pick, but give me the Charlotte 49ers to cover 13.5.
If Belichick somehow loses this game on the road,
not good. It would not be good.
Would be a disaster.
They're short. They're a little short on talent, but they got enough. They got enough to beat Charlotte. Jesus.
Yeah. Another interesting matchup here. This is in East Lansing. BC making the trip to Michigan State. It's 7:30 on the Cock, also on NBC. Spartans, 4.5-point favorite. Give me Sparty to cover here.
Tough to go play in East Lansing at night. Plus, Lonergan's a little banged up. He needed what Bill O'Brien called a maintenance day this week to get more treatment. So for an unspecified injury.
Day.
Yes. I don't know what that injury is, by the way. And Bill O'Brien doesn't want to give that. I mean, he's an ex-pro coach. He's not going to give away anything regarding injuries. Give me Michigan State.
From the Belichick school.
Correct. Yeah, Belichick doesn't even do depth charts, as we saw the other night. I think Michigan State wins this game and probably covers the 4.5. But I would not. This is not a gambling game. This is going to be competitive. A very intriguing matchup, an NBC game, or the Cock, as you said.
The Cock.
Give me Boston College to cover.
I mean, you got to pick up some ground somewhere, right?
He was leading after week 1.
No, I know, but in terms of we need to have some separation. We've been agreeing too much. Mine was UConn. Andrew's got this pick here.
I don't think I've gone out on a limb yet. Pac-12 after dark, still what I'm going to call it. Stanford going to Provo. BYU's a 20.5-point favorite. Mike, I know that the Cardinal have a quarterback problem. I know that the Cardinal have a talent problem.
Yep.
Give me the Cougs to cover here. I don't think this one will be particularly close.
Yeah, I'm on BYU as well, but while you guys kind of go through your picks on your end, I'm going to look up the Stanford team total for this game and let you know if I'm betting the under on that.
You haven't steered me wrong yet this week, Mike. Give me BYU to cover.
Yeah, Stanford has a significant issue.
Hold on. I got it. This is good podcasting, but I mean, we have to know. Stanford total points 12.5. Yeah, I mean, dog. They set the forward pass back like 40 years in week 0. I mean, I think
12 and a half.
I think under 12.5. Look, I bet Marshall under 6.5 last week. So don't put it past me if I put out my picks on the old Twitter. You see us up there if you're watching on YouTube. You see a little at Mike McDaniel SI. I put my betting picks out every week. Don't be surprised you see a little Stanford team total under out there against the Kalani Satake defense. Yeah.
I'm not going to spend all weekend monitoring your Twitter, Mike. But if you do place that bet, you call me. And I'll do it with you.
Hey, Marshall, listen, Andrew, it was a loser, but we had a hell of a ride.
Misery loves company.
No, I mean, again, the friends you make along the way. It was a hell of a journey.
Not about the ultimate result. It's about the friends you make along the way, as you pointed out on the recap.
7:30 ACC Network, Lane Stadium, Vanderbilt making the trip. Virginia Tech needs it. They're 1.5-point favorites, as Andrew mentioned while Michael was gone. This opened at 3, I think, and quickly shrank in half. I think the bettors are onto something. I'm going with the Commodores. I hate to do this, but this is like you're going to have to show me and give me proof in order for me to stop picking against the Hokies in a non-conference Power 4 scenario. I can't buy it. The defense will be fine. I don't think Vandy's going to score a lot of points. I think this is going to be a pretty boring game. I'd be shocked if Vanderbilt scored more than 30. Probably like in the low 20s, honestly. But I also don't think that I'm not sure Virginia Tech can get to 20. I mean, based on what we saw last week, there's going to have to be some significant improvements. And at 1.5, that's simply I think I would take Vanderbilt like -4 here, honestly, on the road. So give me the Commodores. We'll take Vandy like 24-17.
Yeah, for me, final ender, I'll believe it when I see it. You put it just like I was about to, Ricky. Show me.
Yeah.
I fully believe the Hokies can win this game.
Yes.
But past performance has been indicative of future results thus far. And, I'm not going to be the one to bet against past performance being indicative again. Show me I'm wrong. I really do like Brent Pry, and I want him to succeed, and he needs to win this game.
Yeah.
He needs to win this game. And as of right now, I don't think he will. Give me 24-21. Vanderbilt, they eke it out at the end. It's a low-scoring game, but we shall see. We shall see. Go Hokies.
Wilson Core just asked in the chat what he can get for BYU -35 is an alt spread. I'm looking at FanDuel. -35 is not on the board, but -34.5 and -35.5 are for BYU. At 34.5, you get +420. At 35.5, you get +500. So,
do with that information what you will.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good money out there. All spread like 24.5. You're getting plus money. Anyway, yeah, just do some research. I think that could be a play. I appreciate what you guys both just said. I do, and I am mostly in agreement. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. But I like this matchup for Virginia Tech. Defensive line against a Vanderbilt offensive line that's pretty much brand new, has only played one game together. I think we're going to find out early if what we saw from Virginia Tech last weekend on the defensive front is real or not. Mm-hmm. But I must say, I can take more, I think, out of Virginia Tech's matchup with South Carolina and how they performed on defense than I can take out of Vanderbilt's non-conference matchup against, who was it, Charleston Southern? Is that who they played last week? They won by a billion.
Charleston Southern is bad for the FCS.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I think we know in a one-game sample size, I think the one that's more of a known commodity at this point is Virginia Tech's defensive line over Vanderbilt's offensive line, just based on caliber of opponent. So I think Virginia Tech's defense is going to play well again here. I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping we have at least one unit somewhere that we can feel pretty good about this season for giving us relatively consistent returns week over week. It's been a long time since that's happened, where we've had one side of the ball where we can at least feel generally good about consistency week to week. So I like that matchup for Virginia Tech. I do think Kyron Drones is going to play better. I think the offensive line is going to play better. Vanderbilt's pass rush is not as good as South Carolina's. They don't have a Dylan Stewart. That's a big part of it. They did replace a lot on defense. Vanderbilt also, we didn't mention this earlier, they also have a new defensive coordinator. So Clark Lee had been calling the plays for Vanderbilt. He is no longer doing that. He promoted his safeties coach, Steve Gregory. Sorry, I had to look up his name. Forgot his name. Steve Gregory, his safeties coach, he promoted to defensive play caller. It hasn't really changed much in terms of scheme and what they're running. I mean, it's still largely, Clark Lee's defense. He was kind of bringing him along. So he can take back over more of the head coach responsibilities now that the program is steered back in like generally the right direction. He was on the hot seat. He took over defense play calling. That obviously helped a lot. I don't know that really makes a difference here, but just something I wanted to note. Virginia Tech wins this game close. I think the non-conference record against power opponents, power 4, power 5 opponents, I think it finally ends that losing streak on Saturday night. I think Virginia Tech wins this game close. I do like the under in this game. Totals 47.5. I like the under. I think the scores you guys laid out are pretty good. I think 24-17, 24-20, somewhere in there. I think Virginia Tech wins this game by a little more than the field goal. I think they finally get the monkey off their back.
Michael predicting a 1-score victory by Brent Pry.
They do it. They
mighty bold of you, sir.
We're going to kill a couple birds with a stone here.
Hey, I mean, that would be just what the doctor ordered. Again, like we said before, doesn't matter how it happens. Any sort of win, you blow them out. Well, hey, that's obviously going to give you a sense of newfound optimism. If you win it close, you just showed the fan base who's getting a little weary with you that you can do two things that you have proven otherwise incapable of doing, and you can do it at one time. Either way requires a win, because the alternative in terms of what that does to the momentum of the season, the program, the Brett Pry job retention campaign is all going to be extremely negative. A win of any sort, because this is why it's an important time in the season. Assuming that you can eke away victories of any sort against Old Dominion and Wofford, you're basically creating a 3-week narrative, because nothing you can do against Old Dominion or Wofford would change any negativity that's created out of this loss.
Yeah.
It's like almost a full month, right? It is the 6th of September when they play this game, and you will not even be able to slightly correct the narrative until you travel to Raleigh on the 27th, which too early to tell now, but on the road might be a more challenging test than the one you got in front of you. You got to win this game.
A game-winning drive would be such a shot in the arm for the fan base. Like, if Tech were to somehow need to score a touchdown with a minute and 45 seconds left or something like that, and Kyron leads them down the field and scores it to walk it off, that would do wonders for the people in attendance and for the fans across the country as far as maintaining your sanity as a Virginia Tech fan.
Just have more points than the other team when the clock hits 0. I was making jokes with my dad about the score being 10-8 in the middle of the game on Sunday, and he said, "Look, you just have to have more points than the other team when the clock hits 0. Like, it does not matter." He's right. I mean, it doesn't matter. This team is desperate is desperate to find a way to win a game like this. And this is an opportunity against a team that's beatable. And it will not be easy for Virginia Tech. It would be pretty shocking if Virginia, and that would be great. Again, I don't care how it happens. It would be great if Virginia Tech goes out and wins this game by a couple touchdowns. That'd be phenomenal. But I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think Vanderbilt's a competent team. I do think they're well coached by Clark Lee. This is not going to be an easy game, but I think it's a winnable game for Virginia Tech. I think they can get it done, and I hope they do. We all hope they do, obviously.
Yeah, well, here's hoping you're right.
Yeah, I'd love to be wrong. Home Field Apparel, Beamer Ball is your promo code for 15% off your first order online. Make sure you utilize that. Also, if you're in Blacksburg and you need a pharmacy, there's only one place to go. That's Counts Family Pharmacy. Longtime friends of the show, longtime sponsors. We appreciate Jeremy Counts, all the amazing folks there. Love what they do for the Blacksburg community and for us. We'll be back hopefully Sunday night to wrap this up. Andrew and I will be in attendance. I'll be in the box. Andrew will be in the stands, and Izzy will be on the sideline getting us photos. Any last words, boys, before we wrap this up?
Night game at Lane Stadium, always a great opportunity. I am personally extremely excited. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, seems like I just got back from Atlanta, and now I'm already turning it around. But that's football season, baby. We're drinking from the fire hose here early on. The night game at Lane Stadium is not something that happens every day. So enjoy it. Enjoy the hype. Don't drink too much while you're nervously awaiting the game. I'll try to hold myself to that. But as I say, do what I say, not what I do. And yeah, everyone, I hope you have a safe and wonderful weekend that ends in a Hokie victory.
Until the next one, folks, go Hokies.